You are miserable because you are alone. But being alone is not the same as being lonely. To be alone is to be with yourself. To be lonely is to be with no one. It is 9 p.m. on a Friday. You are sitting in your apartment. It is quiet. Too quiet. You pick up your phone, not because you need to call anyone and not because you have work to do, but because the silence feels heavy. You unlock the screen and start scrolling. You watch other people at parties, at dinners, living their best lives. You see the highlight reels of strangers, and suddenly a sinking feeling hits your chest. It is a mix of anxiety, boredom, and a profound sense of emptiness. You feel deeply disconnected, even though you were digitally connected to the entire world. This is the great paradox of the modern American experience. We have never been more connected, yet we have never felt more isolated. We treat silence like an enemy that must be defeated with noise. But what if I told you that this emptiness you feel isn't a defect? What if the ability to sit quietly in a room, completely alone, without reaching for a screen, is actually the rarest and most powerful skill you can possess in the 21st century? In this video, we are going to dismantle the fear of being alone. We will use the ancient tools of Stoicism to transform loneliness into solitude, a state of power, clarity, and unshakable peace. If you are ready to stop running from yourself and start building your inner fortress, welcome to Timeless Wisdom Official. I invite you to subscribe and join our community of wisdom seekers as we walk this path together.
Section 1. The Modern Trap. Why we are terrified of silence. Why is it so hard to just be? In the United States today, we are living in a distraction economy. From the moment we wake up to the moment we pass out from exhaustion, we are bombarded with input. The average person checks their phone over 144 times a day. We fill every gap in our schedule with podcasts, music, Netflix, or news. If we are standing in line at the grocery store for even 30 seconds, the phone comes out. If we are driving, the radio is on. We have become terrified of the white space in our lives. The Stoic philosopher Seneca diagnosed this condition nearly 2,000 years ago, long before smartphones existed. He wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." When your mind is constantly jumping from one external stimulus to another, you lose your anchor. You are not actually living your life. You are just reacting to the noise of the world. The reason we are so terrified of silence is that silence forces us to confront the one person we have been avoiding, ourselves. When the noise stops, the thoughts come. The anxieties about the future, the regrets about the past, the questions about whether we are good enough or successful enough, they all surface in the quiet. So we run. We numb ourselves with entertainment. We text people we don't even like just to feel a vibration in our pocket. We treat being alone as a failure. Society tells you that if you are alone on a Saturday night, you are a loser. But this is a lie. The pain you feel when you are alone is not caused by the absence of other people. It is caused by the absence of a relationship with yourself. You are uncomfortable in the silence because you are sitting in a room with a stranger. The goal of Stoicism is not to force you into isolation, but to introduce you to yourself, so that you are no longer afraid of the quiet. Section 2. Solitude versus loneliness, a shift in perspective. To reclaim your power, we must first make a critical distinction. We need to separate the physical state of being alone from the emotional state of loneliness. These are not the same thing. In the English language, loneliness expresses the pain of being alone. It implies that something is missing. It is a state of lack. Solitude, on the other hand, expresses the glory of being alone. It is a state of fullness. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgment of them." Apply this to your life. When you are sitting by yourself, the physical reality is neutral. There is just a body in a room. That is the fact. But then your mind adds a judgment. I am alone because nobody wants me, or I am missing out on the fun, or this is sad. That judgment is what creates the suffering. That judgment turns a neutral moment of solitude into the painful emotion of loneliness. The Stoics viewed the mind as an inner citadel, a fortress. When you are lonely, you feel like you have been locked out of the world. You are banging on the gates, begging to be let into the party. But when you are in solitude, you have locked yourself in. You have retreated into your fortress not to hide, but to sharpen your weapons, to organize your thoughts, and to strengthen your spirit. Think of it this way. You do not feel sorry for the CEO who closes his door to work on the company's vision. You do not feel sorry for the artist who locks herself in the studio to finish a masterpiece. They are alone, but they are not lonely. They are in solitude because they are engaged in high-value activity. You must begin to view your own time alone with that same level of respect. You are not stuck by yourself. You have been given a gift of time to work on the masterpiece that is your character. The moment you flip this switch in your mind, the moment you realize that being alone is an opportunity, not a punishment, you strip loneliness of its power over you. Section 3. The Art of Self-Friendship, Becoming Self-Sufficient. Now that we have reframed the concept of solitude, how do we actually practice it? How do we sit in that room and not just tolerate the silence, but actively enjoy it? The answer lies in a concept the Stoics called autarkia, or self-sufficiency. There is a beautiful passage in Seneca's letters where he quotes the philosopher Hecate. When asked what progress he had made in his philosophy, Hecate replied, "I have begun to be a friend to myself." Seneca adds a powerful commentary to this. He says, "That was indeed a great benefit. Such a person can never be alone." Read that again. If you are a friend to yourself, you can never be alone. The problem for most of us is that we are not friends to ourselves. We are critics. We are taskmasters. Or worse, we are negligent strangers. Think about how you treat yourself when nobody else is around. Do you treat yourself with respect? Or do you just kill time? If you invited your best friend or a highly respected mentor over for dinner, would you ignore them? Would you lay on the couch in your sweatpants, eating junk food over the sink, scrolling mindlessly through social media for 3 hours while they sat there in silence? Of course not. You would prepare a nice meal. You would put on some music. You would engage in deep, interesting conversation. You would try to make the evening special. Yet, this is exactly how you treat yourself when you are alone. You treat yourself like a waiting room for real life to happen. You tell yourself, "I'll do the fun stuff when I have a partner," or "I'll go to that nice restaurant when my friends are free." The Stoic practice of self-friendship demands that you stop waiting. You must become your own primary source of entertainment and comfort. Here is a practical challenge for you, something that might feel uncomfortable at first, especially in our American culture of constant socialization. I want you to take yourself on a date. Go to a movie theater alone. Go to a coffee shop, sit down without your laptop or phone, and just enjoy a cup of coffee. Go to a nice restaurant and request a table for one. The first time you do this, you will feel exposed. You will feel the spotlight effect, the psychological bias that makes you think everyone is looking at you and judging you. You will think they are saying, "Look at that sad person eating alone." But here is the secret. Nobody is looking at you. They are too busy worrying about what other people think of them. When you push through that initial discomfort, you will discover something incredible. You will realize that you are capable of generating your own joy. You don't need a crowd to validate your existence. You can order what you want, move at your own pace, and think your own thoughts. This builds a profound sense of confidence. When you realize that you are enough, you stop walking into rooms desperate for attention. You stop clinging to toxic relationships just because you are afraid of an empty Friday night. You become self-sufficient. And in a world of needy people, the self-sufficient person is a king. Section 4. Detachment from external validation, the FOMO cure. Once you begin to befriend yourself, you must confront the biggest enemy of modern solitude, the fear of missing out, or FOMO. We live in a unique time in human history. For thousands of years, if you were alone in your house, you had no idea what the rest of the tribe was doing. You could rest. Today, you carry a device in your pocket that broadcasts the best moments of everyone else's life 24/7. You open Instagram or TikTok, and you see vacations, parties, promotions, and relationship. This creates a distortion. You compare your internal reality, your boredom, your anxiety, your quiet moments, with everyone else's external highlight reel. You feel like you are falling behind. You feel like you are failing at life because you aren't constantly performing happiness. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at his time, struggled with this too. He wrote in his personal journal, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Think about how absurd that is. We love ourselves most, yet we care more about what a stranger thinks of us than what we think of ourselves. When you feel lonely because you aren't getting likes or invites, you have outsourced your happiness. You have handed the keys to your emotional stability to other people. The Stoics call this slavery. If your mood depends on whether someone texts you back, you are a slave. If your self-worth depends on how many views your story gets, you are a slave. You have tied your well-being to things outside of your control, which is the cardinal sin of Stoicism. Solitude is the cure for this addiction. When you embrace solitude, you practice what we can call JOMO, the joy of missing out. You realize that most of what you are missing is noise. It is superficial. It is performative. By stepping away from the feedback loop of social validation, you reclaim your mind. You begin to ask yourself, what do I actually like? Not what looks good on my profile? What do I value? Not what is trending. This detachment is not about becoming a hermit or hating society. It is about emotional independence. It is about reaching a point where you can enjoy applause if it comes, but you do not need it to survive. You can enjoy a party, but you are equally happy, perhaps even happier, reading a book in silence. When you no longer need the world to tell you that you matter, you become unbreakable. You become free. Section 5. The Superpower Using Solitude for Radical Growth. We have talked about making peace with silence. We have talked about freeing yourself from the need for validation. Now we arrive at the most exciting part: how to use this time. Solitude is not just a shield against pain. It is a weapon for growth. It is a superpower. History gives us a clue. Look at the lives of the greatest thinkers, leaders, and artists. Isaac Newton developed his theory of gravity while in isolation during the Great Plague. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and many modern innovators actively schedule think weeks, periods of total isolation, to solve complex problems. The Stoic sages spent hours in contemplation. Why? Because deep work and deep insight cannot happen in a crowd. They require the focused laser beam of a quiet mind. This is the concept of monk mode. It is the deliberate choice to withdraw from the noise to focus on a singular purpose. When you are alone, your brain stops processing social cues. It stops worrying about hierarchy and politeness. It frees up massive amounts of cognitive energy that you can direct toward your goals. So, how do you use this superpower practically? I want to give you 3 specific Stoic exercises to do when you are alone. First, the evening review. This is a classic Stoic practice. At the end of the day, turn off the screens. Open a physical journal. Review your day. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I let my emotions control me? How can I be better tomorrow? You cannot do this if you fall asleep watching TikTok. You need silence to process your own life. Second, the view from above. Use your solitude to zoom out. Close your eyes and imagine yourself leaving your body, floating up above your house, your city, your country, and finally, the earth itself. See how small your problems are in the grand scheme of the universe. This silence gives you perspective. It shrinks your anxieties down to their proper size. Third, creative synthesis. Use your alone time to learn without distraction. Read the great books, study philosophy, learn a new skill. When you are alone, you can absorb information twice as fast because you are fully present. You are building a library in your mind. When you start using solitude this way, you stop feeling like you are missing out on the world, because you realize you are building something far more valuable. You are building yourself. Section 6. How solitude improving your relationship. There is one final fear we must address. You might be thinking, if I become so good at being alone, won't I end up alone? Won't I push people away? The answer is the exact opposite. Paradoxically, learning to be alone is the best thing you can do for your relationship. Think about the dynamics of need. We all know that person who is terrified of being single. They jump from relationship to relationship, lowering their standards each time, just to avoid sleeping alone. They are needy. And neediness repels people. It feels heavy. It feels like a burden. When you cannot be alone, you use people. You use them as distractions. You use them as emotional crutches. That is not love. That is dependency. But when you are happy in solitude, you become unneedable. You don't need a partner to make you feel complete. You are already complete. You don't need friends to entertain you. You are already entertained. This shifts the dynamic entirely. When you choose to spend time with someone, it is a genuine choice. It is because you appreciate them, not because you are desperate to escape yourself. This energy, this self-sufficiency, is incredibly attractive. It signals high value. People are drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin. Furthermore, when you spend time in solitude, you get to know yourself deeply. You know your values, your boundaries, and your triggers. You bring a whole person to the relationship, not a fragmented one. You become a better listener because you aren't constantly seeking validation. You become a better partner because you are emotionally stable. By mastering the art of being alone, you ensure that when you are with others, you are present, grateful, and offering the best version of yourself. The return to the world. We have traveled a long way in this video. We started with the pain of a quiet Friday night and ended with the power of the inner citadel. So, here is my final invitation to you. The next time you find yourself alone and that familiar itch of anxiety starts to rise, do not run. Do not reach for the phone. Do not turn on the TV. Sit with it. Stare into the silence. Smile at it. Realize that you are in the company of the only person who has been with you since the moment you were born, and the only person who will be with you until the moment you die yourself. Make that person strong. Make that person kind. Make that person a friend. The world is noisy, and it will try to pull you into its chaos. But you have the key to the fortress. You have the superpower of solitude. Use it to find your center, and you will never be lonely again. Thank you for spending this time in solitude with us here at Timeless Wisdom Official. We truly appreciate your presence and your commitment to this journey. If this video helped you find a moment of peace in your own company, please subscribe, like, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Help us spread this message to those who are still running from the silence. And a question for you before you go: what is the one activity you enjoy most when you are completely alone? Is it reading, walking, or maybe just sitting with a cup of coffee? Share your answer in the comments below. I'd love to read your story. Until next time, stay wise and enjoy your own company.